American half pound of 2 pure beef patties, lettuce, tomato.
Singles going steady.
This is Singles Going Steady, the podcast dedicated to exploring great singles with a particular eye to the punk, new wave, and DIY eras of the last century. I'm Steve McGowan.
I'm Adrienne Meddock. We're in a band, the Beef People, who released a single in 1986 on our own label, Zub Records. But we are record collectors and passionate especially about the expression of pop music perfection. That is the single recording. Exploring the mystery of what makes for a great single is what propelled us to begin this podcast. And this is episode 101. 101. We've flipped over the odometer,
yes.
And we're 101. And we've got a great single today.
One that we were both just laughing listening to.
It's just unbridled fun. And the group, at least at the time the single was released, was known as Spizzenergi.
And the song is called Where's Captain Kirk?
And this is just a time capsule and encapsulation, summing up of all things that sort of fed into fun music of the late 70s.
Yes, this is from 1979. Spizzenergi is an English band from the London area. They were from the West Midlands and toured with Susie and the Banshees. They're on Rough Trade Records on this single. And they kind of share a little bit of the DNA of bands like the Rosillos.
Yeah, and that it's fast, fun, frenetic, pop culture referencing,
right.
Full of sci-fi.
Yes.
And just fun, just lots of fun.
Yeah, it's not really protest music of any kind. It's just like, let's get up there and be silly, but the song is really, really, really catchy.
It is.
Yes.
It's this. Once you hear it, you'll remember it forever.
Yes.
And this is the song that they're remembered for forever.
They really are. So why don't we go ahead and play it? And
okay, let's do.
We'll talk about Captain Kirk after we've listened to it.
Okay. Where is he?
This is from 1979 on Rough Trade Records. The single's called Where's Captain Kirk? Spizzenergi.
And I met all of the crew. Where's Captain Kirk?
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about where Captain Kirk was, at least the character in 1979. Star Trek really, it was an unsuccessful series in the 60s, lasted 3 seasons. It was one of the first series where there was a lot of popular demand that it be brought back even during its first run. And Star Trek really kind of made its bones in popular psyche in syndication. This was something that was syndicated heavily in the 70s, both here and abroad. And I remember.
What does that mean, syndication?
Syndicated. That
So,
it's
some
not,
of our listeners might not be.
Syndicated. That's part of a package where the reruns are shown
Right.
on local stations, not
Right.
not at like primetime network broadcast times. So
Right.
this was like an hour after school, right? So you
Yeah.
might have Gilligan's Island,
Right, or
and
Petticoat
Brady
Junction.
Bunch, and Petticoat Junction
Right.
if you were lucky.
Yeah.
And if they needed an hour, they might stick in a Star Trek.
Right.
So this is something that it's a little old for me in the sense, for the first time around, I remember it as a kid a little bit because I would have just been, in single digits the first time.
Right, but
that
you
was
caught it.
shown.
You caught it back on
Caught it in
syndication.
syndication over and over and over.
Right.
And this really became, something that was known and loved because of repeat watchings. And this would have been in the days before DVRs
Right.
and VHS, and certainly way, way before YouTube, right? So you got your knowledge of Star Trek by repeated rewatching. You might even record an episode on a cassette tape.
Right.
Right. If you put the cassette machine, get an audio of the episode.
Right.
So this is really a thing that was for fanatics.
Trekkies.
Yeah, and before there really was a sophisticated commodification of fandom, right? So you couldn't get like action figures in the 70s. I mean,
Right.
this was, a time really where they, were on the downturn. So Where's Captain Kirk is pretty campy. There were movies that with the original cast that came out. I looked it up just to make sure my memory was right, and it was December of '79 that the first movie came out
right.
that was based on the original Star Trek cast getting back together.
Okay.
And so that's really a 1980 thing, right? So this is a '79 single, so
Right.
it would have predated all those movies. And Star Trek would have been pretty much an underground, campy, beloved by some kind of a cultural signifier of people who are interested in science and possibility and sci-fi and being accepting of differences, all the sorts of things that feed into the same sensibilities we see in punk and new wave and DIY.
So this band Spizzenergi is run by Kenneth Spires and Pete Petrel, who his real name is Pete O'Dowd. They were pretty clowny. They changed the name of the band every year. They became Spiz Oil. They became Athletico Spiz 80,
Right.
pretending they were a soccer club. And they kept changing their name.
Yeah, so branding was playing with branding was one of the
Right.
things they so it wasn't.
And they're just being silly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they were fun.
Yeah. Paul Mahler from the Slits played with them for a short time at the beginning. And later, Lou Edmonds, who is now the guitarist in PIL, played with them. They were in Erg, A Music War, which we have talked about in a previous podcast.
Yeah, I can't discount the importance of Erg.
Right.
Being in Erg was like the official stamp that you were okay, that you
Yeah,
were somebody.
you were cool.
You were cool. You were somebody to pay attention to. You were among the most important bands to be coming out of punk and new wave.
And I remember they've only released a couple of full-length LPs. One of them was called Do a Runner as Athletico Spiz 80. I have that record.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's very sci-fi and very new NENU wave. But this particular single is unstoppable. It's got this great bass line that starts it off. It's got a descending part, da na 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 na
Yeah.
na, and it's got just this cool 4-chord chorus, that doesn't go where you expect it to go.
It's a great single because it just drills itself in your mind, and it just
Right.
it doesn't leave. When we were talking about singles we wanted to do in this series, I think we both said this one,
Yes.
right? Because this just sticks out as one of the memorable
Right.
singles of that time.
And another band that actually did a cover of this song
Right.
is hard to believe but true, REM.
And REM out punks, I think.
Yes.
They don't go the wacky.
No, they make it kind of rougher and punkier sounding.
Yeah.
They released it just on a fan club single only in 1992, and we're going to listen to a little bit of REM doing it. It's kind of crazy and kind of fun.
Yeah, I was surprised and pleased.
Here they go.
I've got some stuff that would tranquilize an active volcano.
So that was REM doing the double-track lead vocals and making all kinds of noises with the guitars and getting all the little beeps and boops from the Star Trek series and the
sound.
the doors opening and closing sounds, and they're obviously having fun with it. So they're in the spirit of it, but giving it a little bit of rougher edge. You wouldn't expect that.
Yeah, you wouldn't think. Yeah,
Yeah.
we really want to rock it out. Bring me REM.
Right, exactly. So, what a great single.
Yeah.
Really top notch.
Catchy, fun, has the zeitgeist of the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can you hear anybody covering this single?
Well, after REM, boy,
Yeah, I know.
is it really needed? But I mean, this seems to me to be one that I'd like to hear in more people's repertoires, right? That I think that having appreciation for this
Right.
shows a certain self-deprecation and sort of a willingness to let go and have fun and be
Yeah.
goofy.
Especially if you're a Trekkie.
I think Trekker is the preferred term, but I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll hear.
Yes. I would hear a band that's in the similar vein doing this, the Rezillos or the Rezillos
Yeah.
or the B-52s,
Yeah.
maybe giving it a try.
Yeah. And I know John Peel said he thought this was the only Star Trek related single that should be on the jukebox of the Starship Enterprise.
Well, there you go.
High praise indeed.
Yes, John Peel is a big fan of this band. Do you have a recommendation?
I think my recommendation might be for TV fandom. This comes out of an appreciation and a love for that original series of Star Trek. And I've got a similar one for an ongoing series.
Okay.
Currently, that we're enjoying a marathon of
Right.
episodes of The Simpsons. Right.
And that's my recommendation as well.
Yeah, and don't give up on The Simpsons. You
No.
can, the later ones all have something good. There may be ones that if you're a purist, I mean, what are you doing watching a show with a 10-year-old 30
Right.
years on, right? I mean, you've already
I know.
shown yourself
Yes.
If you're not willing to suspend disbelief to follow that.
It's an animated show.
Yeah, exactly. And so, finding room in your heart for The Simpsons is an ongoing concern because, they're still baking great gags, great jokes, heartwarming stories, but not in a gross way.
Yeah. We've been watching the Simpsons marathon here at the end of the year in 2019, and Adrienne obviously he's the Simpsons expert. She knows them all and knows them all backwards and forwards, and me not so much. But
well, you really can't with 660 plus,
But there is that whole the basic. Thing is, the early ones are really good and the later ones aren't that good, and to my opinion that is not true. What was you were saying? The early ones have a lot of gags.
Yeah, they're untouchable in the number of laughs per.
Right.
I was going to say per minute, but it's really almost like per second, right? They're very dense.
The later ones have better storytelling.
Yeah, they're more reliant on storytelling, but it makes sense as you've got a universe that you're digging into on the 31st year or whatever.
Yeah, we saw that one about the elderly magician. That was a really good one.
Right. So it's been interesting with somebody who stepped away from The Simpsons, coming back and as Steve has, and been like, this is pretty good. It's like,
and there was that one with the one with Maggie. Directing the animals. Yeah, so that was just kind of a magical episode. And and the bottom line with The Simpsons is the family does love each other, and it always comes down to it's a family show, and as much as they try to strangle each other and kill each other sometimes, they always end up it's about the family and the family sticking together. And it's great to see the future episodes, like when Lisa's president and Bart's like a famous artist like Banksy or something. And
So don't give up on The Simpsons. You can dip back in and just come in without judgment and just enjoy.
Okay, well, those are our recommendations, and this has been Singles Going Steady 101. Spizzenergi from 1979. Great slice of British new wave / punk, an undeniably great single. And it's called "Where's Captain Kirk," and we love it.
It's just fantastic. The energy is right.
Yes, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Very soon, guys. To learn more about the artists and recordings we just talked about, visit our website at zubrecords.com and click on the Singles Going Steady icon.
You'll also find links to the persons, places, and things we recommend, and much more.
You can find episodes of Singles Going Steady on our website or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Singles Going Steady is brought to you by the power and majesty of Zub Records.
Zub Records. Smart sounds for sharp people.
I was crying in the middle of